Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. I'm Annette Young. It was an image few Egyptians thought they would ever see, that of the ousted president, Hosni Mubarak, being wheeled into a courtroom cage in a hospital stretcher. During the hearing, Mubarak and his two sons denied all charges of corruption, as well as complicity in killing 840 protesters during the January uprising. But it was a seminal moment, not just for Egypt, but for the whole of the Arab world. This as countries such as Libya, Syria and Yemen still are confronting their own protests. Joining me to talk about it today is Tufik Aklamondas, an Egyptian specialist at the Collège de France. Tufik, thank you so much for being with us. First of all, let me start by asking you, as an Egyptian, when you saw that image of Hosni Mubarak behind bars in that Cairo court, what did you feel? What did you think?
I had mixed feelings. On one hand, the political system was awful, and the 10 last years of Mubarak were terrible. On the other hand, this is an old president who served as a military the country and who had a good, fair presidency for the first, say, 15 years. As an Egyptian willing to see this political structure, this political regime destroyed, I was happy. As a person who thought that Mubarak was not the worst president and was a fair person, at least for the first 15 years, I was slightly sad. This is not a nice end for an old guy.
And your views are probably shared by some in the country, which clearly has divisions about the Mubarak period and the post-Mubarak period. Do you think those divisions can be overcome as a result of this trial?
The trial should be fair. It had a fair start, so we can expect that things may go right. If things go wrong, it will be difficult to heal the Egyptian, how do you put it, ills.
Because there are already divisions between the secular movements and the Islamist movements, which are really starting to emerge in the last few weeks of protests, aren't there?
Everybody agrees that Mubarak should be judged and punished. This is a political there is a political consensus about this. When you want to, how do you put it, to build a coalition or to show unity, you hit at Mubarak. So this is, I don't think that you have much disagreement between seculars and Islamics around this issue. Of course, Mubarak had a lot of followers who are much more angry than the political opposition.
Do you think this trial can be fair and transparent? Do you have confidence in the judge, for instance?
I have confidence in the judge, but you have a lot of terrible legal problems. I don't see how they can be overcome. And you have, how do you put it, political opportunity shows a way, and the constraints of the legal system, which is how do you put it, which can be improved upon, point to another direction. So it's a bit difficult. If you want a fair trial, the result might be complicated.
Now, there have been fears, haven't there, that the army would try and expedite these legal proceedings because of the possibility of damaging revelations which might link the current military leadership to the decisions that were taken during that terrible time.
As far as I understand, the military had problems with seeing a top commander, treated like this. After that, they are not afraid of anything because they did not follow orders. They protected the revolution, at least the first days, and the worst thing that can happen to them is that the judge asks for their testimonies. After that, how do you put it, nobody asked, they refused to follow orders if orders were issued about firing on people. So
But the most interesting thing that came out of this hearing, as well as obviously the entering of the pleas, was the senior defence lawyer's request that Field Marshal Hussein Tantawi give evidence. Do you think the judge will grant that request?
Oh, I'm not the judge. I don't see why it would be ominous, but I don't see why he should avoid this on legal.
Because he was Deputy Prime Minister appointed from January 31, and it was only in February 11th that Mubarak stepped down. So according to defence, he was as much as part of the food chain at that time in terms of issuing commands as was Mubarak.
The main problem is people want, how to put it, you had a lot of leaks in the press saying that Mubarak issued order to the army to liquidate the revolution and they refused to obey. So you have a lot of, how do you put it, of lawyers trying to prove, to use Tantawi and Annan, to prove that Mubarak was knowing what is happening and that he issued orders of firing. On the other hand, of course, I don't know what's the Mubarak's lawyer's strategy, but we can figure out that they might try to destroy the testimony of Tantawi.
And of course it's important because at the moment Tantawi is the current head of the military council that's running the country. Would him giving such evidence, that would be very damaging, I imagine, for the military council, would it not?
My personal opinion is that the military council doesn't risk anything in this trial. I might be wrong, and they might be afraid of setting a precedent. That the fact that the an acting head of state is judge is too far a step for them.
Well, this is the difficult element in all of this, isn't it? Is proving that Mubarak is directly responsible for the killing of those 840 protesters is going to be very difficult to prove, surely, isn't it?
I don't know. The general opinion in Egypt is that the Egyptian state, which has a lot of defects, is a rational state, and we know that it used to keep a record of phone calls. So I don't know whether it's easy or not to prove it, but people think that you have somewhere a proof of a phone call if you had a phone call from Mubarak to the interior minister. I would say that my guess is it's not that difficult to prove that Mubarak issued or did not issue these orders, but it's going to be a turning point, of course. And and this is of course possible, I didn't see the file. If it turns out that proving who issued the orders is impossible, people will be very, very suspicious about the whole process.
Now, there's been much frustration directed at the military council for operating in an opaque fashion. I mean, many of the public are very suspicious of their motives. Do you think this trial will restore public confidence in the military and in the military council?
Everything is possible, but I would say this is a necessary step, but it will not be sufficient. The people are very angry because they perceive that the military are acting slowly and I would say with reluctance. The main problem is that the military has a different logic. They have a different logic. They are trying to restore the prestige of the state. The opposition, to put it mildly, to put it shortly, wants to destroy the old order. That is the policemen, the NDP members, etc., etc. And the military is trying to find a way between, restoration of state authority and destroying the old order. So they are acting very slowly, and people are really frustrated, and they think that the army, in effect, do not want to deepen the revolution.
Do you think they're capable, the military council, of making that democratic transition?
Yeah, but they are capable to do I am going to be accurate. They are capable of organizing fair elections. Yeah, I think that. and they want to organize a democratic transition. But this is one issue. The other one is destroying the old order. And this, they are, to put it mildly, reluctant. At least they think that this should be the business of civilians when the civilians are going to take over.
Okay, let's just take a step back. What message does this trial send out to the likes of people like Libya's Colonel Gaddafi and Syria's President al-Assad?
Oh, I would say that almost all Arab regimes are very uneasy with this. In most of the states, the head of state is the state. So they are afraid for themselves, they are afraid for the political structure in their country. No, of course, they are, to put it mildly, they are not happy with this.
It's an historic moment, isn't it?
I would say this, yeah.
Tufik Aklamondis, I'm terribly sorry, that's all we have time for. And that's it for this edition of the France 24 interview. Stay tuned for more news and headlines, which are coming up shortly.